content to the station to really begin to talk about issues that are impacting the lives of the residents in both Highland Park and Detroit, and to really get into a much deeper understanding of how the economics, the social, and the political climate have all changed, and we need to do different things at different times. I think as a part of my inaugural show, I really want to jump off into a deep understanding of the loss of home ownership in the city of Detroit and Highland Park. As we all know, over the last 7 or 8 years, there was a tremendous loss of people owning their homes through the process of tax foreclosure through the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. It is estimated that more than 150,000 people actually lost their homes in this region, in the city in Highland Park and Detroit. And we need to really understand what that means from a perspective of how we generate wealth, how we generate income to pass on to our children, and how we need to reverse those trends in order to create a better home ownership model in our community. Recently, there was an article published in Crain's Business Detroit. Crain's is sort of the business organ for people who want to keep up with business things in the city and the region. And what they talked about was the disparity in home values and disparity of home ownership in the city of Detroit and Highland Park. And what was interesting about that article is it talked about the fact that Black folks in our community have lost billions of dollars in equity. There's billions of dollars in equity either through the tax foreclosure process or through the undervaluation of homes in our community. What's important to understand about that is that home ownership and equity is the key to how people create wealth in America. And without a foothold in understanding or losing that equity in your home, people have very little ability to accumulate wealth, since home ownership is the best point of how we create wealth in our economy. And so why is that important? That's important because when you look at the city of Detroit in this region, what we have is a situation where more people rent actually than own their homes. And when you're in a renter situation, you obviously aren't creating or building any equity for yourself. And by not being in a position to create equity for yourselves and to create appreciation and value, you're simply paying rent out to someone else, and you never put yourself in a position to actually be a homeowner. And when you look at the average rents of what's being charged in the city of Detroit and Highland Park, what you find is most people who are actually making a rental payment would probably be gaining money if in fact they actually own their homes and were able to accumulate wealth from that. Why is that important? Why is that important is because we've lost value. We've lost the ability to pass on equity and income to our children. We've lost the ability to actually control where we own and how we go about creating wealth for ourselves. And if in fact we're going to create a community that is robust, a community that recognizes the need for people to grow into home ownership and equity, then we've got to begin to change that process. There are a number of organizations that are out there that are really promoting the issue of home ownership. One such organization is the Greater Detroit Realtors Association. It's an association comprised of Black real estate professionals who are really committed to creating home ownership within the city of Detroit. As a part of a national program, which is a part of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is a national organization of Black real estate professionals, they've made it a targeted goal to create something on the order of about 500,000 new homeowners within our community. Because this organization and others recognize that our ability to generate wealth, the ability to pass on income, to create legacy income for our children arises from the simple fact that if you own your home, you'll be able to control these types of things. I think home ownership is also important because people can't necessarily force you out of a property if in fact you own that property. Whereas as long as you are a renter, you're certainly at the whim of the person who actually owns the property. And so we've got to begin to change that paradigm, change that dynamic to put ourselves in position to actually own our homes. Now, there was an interesting fact that came out of a recent study about home ownership patterns in the city of Detroit, in the city of Detroit in particular. And what this study found was that blacks of comparable income with whites had a far more difficult time to actually obtain mortgages to buy property in the city of Detroit. And as a result of that disparity, what you end up with are uneven patterns of blacks being able to actually buy homes in the city of Detroit. That's an amazing fact that it's something that we really need to address and understand better, because that points out the fact that we have a structural racism issue both in lending and in providing access to capital. It's always been a problem, but now with the people talking about how we invest in Detroit, how we come back and make a difference in our own city, we've got to begin to explore and tear down some of those barriers to home ownership, because the blacks of equal income to whites are not able to buy homes, then it clearly points out the structural racism issues that are present within our community. And so we've got to begin to change those things and understand it. There was also a recent article which caught my attention about white renters who were suing their building because their building was refusing to rent to blacks. Now, it's kind of an amazing fact that you would have a city the size of the city of Detroit, and you have a property owner who's being sued because he doesn't want to rent property to blacks within the neighborhood. That's a fact that we really have to begin to address, because when people are concerned about regentrification and how that occurs, if in fact they are using tax subsidy dollars to build these developments, there should be no way in the world that those folks are able to not to rent to people who come from the city of Detroit. It really points out a much broader issue in terms of how our economic dollars are being distributed, and whether or not there is some level of accountability that is needed in order to address these types of issues. And so what we begin to see is a pattern of displacement. We have people being displaced from home ownership through tax foreclosures. We have people then being caught in a perpetual renting situation, because in a lot of these situations where people have had to lost their homes as a result of tax foreclosure, they actually end up paying a person who bought the property through a tax foreclosure process. And so they end up in a continuing payment plan. They have a continuing payment plan to rent their home. They have a continuing payment plan with the DTE because of the electric bill. They have a continuing payment plan because of they have to pay the water department. They just have continuing payment plans all over the place. And if we don't begin the process to move people out of continuing payment plans into some level of home ownership, then we're going to constantly be chasing our tails, because we aren't doing the things necessary to create the wealth within our community. It's a basic notion of how do you empower a community? You empower the community by providing them with the tools necessary to grow, which in this case, in home ownership, we're talking about access to capital, making sure that we level the playing field with respect to how banks actually participate and lend in our community, and more importantly, how we are much more aggressive in vocalizing the need to have access to capital so that people can actually buy their homes. There also is one other phenomenon that I think we need to talk about. In a recent book published by Andre Perry called Know Your Wealth, there was an interesting factoid that he developed in his empirical analysis of ownership and cost patterns and what it costs to actually buy homes. And what he discovered in his analysis was that homes in urban areas that are predominantly black are severely devalued, meaning that if you have a comparable home in the city of Detroit and a comparable home in Grosse Pointe, the value sometimes would be as much as 30 to 40 to 50% differential in value, even for the same home. And when you're talking about creating wealth and equity and leveling the playing field of exactly how people generate wealth for themselves, it's clearly a problem when you have a majority black city and the homes are devalued. And then when you couple that with the inability of people to get mortgages because they aren't getting real value for their home, then we end up in a much, much different situation, and something that we really need to begin to address. And so how do we begin to, sort of address these types of issues? Well, I think one thing that's important is to understand that the city of Detroit actually has billions of dollars in local banks and national banks for that matter. And when you have banks that are operating within the state of Michigan and within the city of Detroit and holding the city of Detroit deposits, one thing we need to be sure of is that they're actually lending to people who live in our community. If in fact the banks are holding our taxpayer dollars, our tax money, and haven't seen fit to lend to people within the community, well, then we need to begin to re-examine our relationships with our local banks so that we hold them accountable. Because accountability is a major portion of why blacks can't buy homes in the city, why blacks can't get mortgages in the city, why black property is devalued in the city. All these are evidences really of structural racism and things that we need to address because we aren't going to be able to move a home ownership platform forward if we, in fact, don't do the things necessary to do that. There are some things that we also need to discuss when we talk about home ownership. You know, we have a number of housing counseling organizations that are out there, both on the east side, the west side, southwest Detroit, that actually are providing home ownership understanding. What does it take to really own a home? How do you get yourself ready to own a home? If you've had credit challenges, what are the things you need to do in order to move past that? If you've had issues in your life, how do you begin to move past those issues? And a lot of these programs really provide you with a leg up in understanding how you can move towards home ownership. Because if in fact owning a home is the key to success in American life, then we've got to begin to move people towards the home ownership model so that they can have the things they need in order to build wealth through their family. Because home ownership is important. Probably one of the number one complaints you see in a lot of neighborhoods that have undergone major tax foreclosure issues is the fact that they've had a flood of renters who move into the houses and don't necessarily understand the requirements of what it takes to own a home because they are a renter. And so I think one of the solutions that we need to look at is how we begin to convert people who are actually renters in neighborhoods into home ownership models. That turns on how we in fact use our economic development dollars to create the necessary tools for people to move into home ownership. It has always been my position that the best blight removal strategy that exists is to stabilize people within their homes. And we've got to be about the business of stabilizing people in their homes because that allows us to stabilize the neighborhoods that where those homes are. If in fact we stabilize the neighborhoods and we stabilize people in the housing, that's one less house we've got to worry about on that block, one less house we've got to worry about on that neighborhood, and one less block we have to worry about in the city so we can begin to move the process forward. I think there also is another element and component part of this. Is how do we help people who are actually in their homes themselves? You know, if you take the opportunity to ride through the city of Detroit, and I'm an avid biker, so I kind of ride my bike around various neighborhoods. It's not unusual to come upon a home where you see a blue tarp on the roof, where you see some plastic over the windows. I mean, where you see people who are really struggling to hold on to that asset that they have because that's the only thing that they own. And I think part of the difficulty in our economic development strategy for stabilizing neighborhoods is that we haven't provided these folks with the opportunity to stabilize and be in their homes. And so if in fact we have development dollars that we have available, then why are we not using those dollars to help people stabilize their homes so that they can put the roof on, they can put new windows in, they can cut their utility costs, they can cut their actual operating and living expenses within their own house. These are very important things that I think we need to do, that we need to be about. And to the extent that we aren't using our dollars in a manner that's going to allow us to stabilize people who own their homes, to allow them to benefit of things that they need because they can't go to a traditional lender to get money to help fix up their homes because the value of the house is rendered lower because it's in a majority black city and because black folks in the city have a much more difficult time of getting mortgages, then we've got problem on top of problem that we need to solve. And if in fact we're going to really begin to move our city forward, if we're really going to begin the process of stabilizing our neighborhoods, if we're really going to begin the process of providing people with the step up to creating equity and wealth for themselves, then we are really missing the mark. And there's something we need to do something about it, and we can't continue to do what we've been doing. Because obviously, if we were doing it the right way, he would be in a much, much different situation. And so these are problems that we need to address. We need to first understand what the problem is. We need to second understand that there are approaches that we can use in order to change the trajectory of what's going on. And then we've got to be about the business of moving forward. And then we also have to be about the business of holding people accountable who are actually involved in this process, because there are multiple steps that need to be addressed in order to take on and tackle and solve the problem that exists. And so home ownership will really be key to how we move forward, because it serves as the basis for creating wealth and equity in our community. It serves as a basis for moving people forward in their lives. I recall when I owned my first home, I think I bought a nice little house over in Rosedale Park on Edinburgh, a nice neighborhood. I think I paid $35,000 for it in 1985, I believe it was. And at that time, I think my average mortgage payment was about $450 a month. I actually thought that was a lot of money because I had just come out of a rental situation. The first house I rented in Detroit actually was a two-family house located on Calvert and LaSalle. I actually could see a Central High School from my window. And my rent in that apartment, it was a two-family flat, was about $350 a month. I thought that was a lot of money back then, but I paid it. When I got my first house, I was really happy because even though I increased my payment, it was something that I owned as a part of my own equity, and was able to build equity from that home, so that when I sold it, even though I paid like $35,000 for it, I was able to sell that house for about $75,000, $80,000, and then take that equity and move into another home. Now, the equity in the home was important because I was able to use that equity to finance the educations of my children. And so because I had equity in my home, I was able to pull that equity out and pay for a college education, which provided my children with the opportunity to grow and build their own neighborhoods. And so it looks like we're at the break point in the conversation. This is my first time, so it's going to be a little rocky at first, but as I become more comfortable in this platform, I'll get better. So this is Anthony Adams. We Detroit, we deserve better, and we're going to take a station break right now. Thank you.
Alexa, open FM Detroit. Alexa, open FM Virgin Islands. Now you can listen to WHPR, TV33, and WVIE on Amazon Echo. Don't miss a minute of your favorite shows. And find out how you can have your own show heard worldwide on Amazon Echo. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. The Watkins Broadcasting Company. You can have your own party on TV. Party with R.J. Watkins and the TV33 family when you hold your own Facebook watch party. Connect all your friends with our friends, and we can have a watch party together. Watch your favorite TV shows when you want, how you want, with your favorite people. Here's how it works. Log on to Facebook from your computer or tablet and go to the R.J. Watkins fan page at facebook.com/TV33WHPR. The one with the blue WHPR logo on the left. Like us. Click the word videos with the red tag that says live next to it. Then click the share button at the bottom of the video player and select start a watch party. Invite whoever you want. Your party will be recorded and archived for playback anytime you want. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. At the end of the month, the viewer that has the most people at their watch party will be invited on the TV show live. Come on, let's have a party. Not only can you listen, you can watch. 107.3 WVIE, Virgin Islands. Have your own show and be seen and heard in the Virgin Islands, Detroit, and worldwide. RadioWeCanSee.com, a Watkins Broadcasting Company. Block time is available. Call now, 313-868-6612. Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only. Cheryl Underwood got her own show, now you get yours. Have a business or talent you want to showcase? Have your own show simulcast on WHPR TV and radio, all of your favorite apps and devices.
But the best way to get it, you got to come through here to get it. Because I wouldn't be here if this wasn't the real deal Holyfield.
Come on,
you know,
come on.
Packages start at just $99. Call now. Download the WHPR TV app and catch the Cheryl Underwood Show wherever you are.
Welcome back to This is Anthony Adams. We Detroit, we deserve better. A show which really highlights the need for us to be moving forward within our city. A show which highlights some of the economic and social issues impacting our community. A show which gives you the opportunity to ask me questions that you may want to understand about how tax policy impacts your lives, how social policy impacts your lives, whether or not we have solutions to moving and solving some of the problems that we have in our community. You know, it's always a fact that a basic issue of empowerment is people need to understand exactly what the issues are. Because I believe that if we provide people with the information and the tools necessary to change their lives, that they in fact will do so. I have a soft heart in that regard because I actually believe in the goodness of man and the spirit of people that want to move forward, that they always want something better for their lives. And so when I began my program this morning, I really talked about the absence or the loss of home ownership in the city of Detroit and how that impacts our ability to control our lives. Because if in the city of Detroit, we have more people that actually rent their home rather than own their homes, then we've created an uneven power dynamic. Because the people who are renting are always at risk of being moved out, of being subject to rent increases, which will force them to move out. And we've kind of seen this pattern develop because now when you look at some of our outlying suburban communities, such as South Warren, East Point, Taylor, Westland, what we've noticed is that there have been large movements of African Americans into these neighborhoods. And part of the reason they're moving into these neighborhoods is there has been a price creep on what renting occurs in the city of Detroit and really the quality and the value of the housing stock that exists. If we understand that the Detroit Land Bank, controls more than 80,000 parcels of land, let's put this in context. In the city of Detroit, we have about 320,000 actual households in the city of Detroit. Well, if you figure that those households probably encapsulate something to the tune of maybe 210,000 actual structures, well, we got 80,000 structures that are actually owned by the land bank that are keeping people out of moving into homes and creating home ownership for ourselves. And we also understand that we've got more people that rent their homes rather than own their homes, then that is not a good dynamic where we need to be in the city of Detroit. And we really need to begin to change that and move that perspective back so that in the early 80s, Detroit actually led the nation in the percentage of blacks actually owning a house. You have blacks who worked at Ford and Chrysler and GM. They own them a nice brick house on the east side or the west side. They had a vacation home. They had an RV and 2 cars. And obviously that has changed dramatically because of the economics and the income in the city of Detroit. What we have now in the city of Detroit is that the average income of a Detroiter actually is around $26,000, whereas the average median income in the state of Michigan is about $50,000. And so we have an equity disparity with respect to income, and we also have an equity disparity with respect to the value that's placed on our homes. And if we've got those two major disparities, The question is, how do you move your community forward if you have a lack of income and you have a lack of housing opportunity? It's a toxic mix that we really have to begin and we need to address. And so how do we begin to address those issues? My central premise in theory is that in order to empower the community, people need to own where they live. People need to make a decent income where they live. If we put those two things together and increase the average wage and income of a Detroiter, then we create a much better situation for ourselves in our own city. Because we have people who are actually making a decent wage, people who actually have a home, people who actually are building equity within that home. An example I gave earlier where I was able to pull equity out of my home to finance education, for my children, that was a good thing for me because that debt that I owed on my house, I'm able to take off and deduct from my taxes the interest on the money that was borrowed. Because if you don't own property, you're losing a major deduction on the income side because you can't deduct the interest or the taxes that you are paying. If you're in a renting situation, obviously you don't get a chance to take any deduction. And so that portion of your income, which is being used to offset your living costs, is something that you cannot take off of your taxes. And in America, the name of the game is reducing your tax liability. We actually had a president recently who I think paid over only $750 in actual income tax. And he was able to do that through a series of property deductions that he was able to take to offset his income. And so building home ownership, building health equity in that allows you to take advantage of certain things under the tax code because it's not tax avoiding. It's all about understanding how you move forward to create income for yourself. And you do that, obviously, by reducing your tax burden, which puts you in a much lower tax bracket, which allows you to free up more money for yourself, which allows you to buy a much larger house. I mean, that kind of was the model in America. You start off with a small home. After you live in that home for a period of time, you move up to a much bigger home. You take the equity from your old home and use that to buy another house. And you continue to move yourself up and buy larger properties, which allows you to have a larger interest deduction and tax deduction that you have. And so by taking advantage of the American dream, we are able to create wealth and income opportunities for ourselves that we normally can't get, which is why the issue of more people renting rather than owning their homes is a loss of equity for our community. And we wonder why our community is cash strapped because we don't have the income circulating within our community. It says that, in the Black community, a dollar may circulate only 1 or 2 times, whereas in the Arab community, it might circulate 10 or 11 times. Whereas in the Jewish community, it might circulate 15 to 20 times. And so what we've got to begin to do is change the paradigm of how those dollars recirculate in our community, which is why Black real estate investors really become a very important part of the formula and the key to how we move forward. If we're able to create more entrepreneurs who go in and buy property and allow them to rent this property to people, then there are programs that we could develop that would allow them to sell the property that they went and made their investment in. But if in fact we have not addressed the issue of the structural racism and the devaluation of property in the Black community, it certainly makes it difficult for the developer to flip that property into a home ownership model. And so one thing that we've been looking at, is an emerging trend in urban areas as it relates to home ownership, is the issue of actually creating an urban bank. Now we have First Independence Bank, and they have certain restrictions on how they can lend because in order to lend a lot of money, you have to have a lot of equity in the bank. And so maybe there's a 2-part approach to how we address this problem. One is perhaps that the First Independence Bank should be on an aggressive path of trying to increase their capital base and the equity in the bank itself. The more equity a bank has, the more money they can lend. That's one problem. That's one issue. The other side of the coin is whether or not the city of Detroit or Highland Park should actually create their own bank. Now, when I spoke earlier, I talked about the fact that cities have billions of dollars of assets under their control, and they have that money sitting in other banks. Well, if they have that money sitting in other banks, Why could they not take all of their money out of the bank, put it in their own bank, earn interest on their own money, and then lend that money to the citizens who actually live in the city? To me, it's an approach that's got to be looked at. I know Andrew Yang, who's a mayoral candidate in New York, has talked about it. There's a lot of thought pieces out there through various think tanks which talk about the need perhaps to restructure the relationship and how we deal with our banks or how our banks deal with us. Because if a bank is not lending money in the city of Detroit or Highland Park, is not providing access to capital for entrepreneurs, then why does the city have their money in that bank? It would seem to me that it would be a much better scenario if, in fact, we created our own bank through the city's funds and resources and assets and allow us to use that equity to lend money within the city and to grow the city itself. Because that puts us in a much better position to empower people, because then we would control the bank, we would control the resources, we would control the dollars, we would control the lending, we would control the spending. It's a circular argument which gets you to my central premise, which is if in fact we create more home ownership opportunities for ourselves, then we are actually empowering our community, because we're giving people the opportunity and the first step up to creating home ownership and equity for themselves. Again, these are things, ideas that we need to talk about, because we're not going to fix the problem by continuing to do the same thing, the same tired approach to how we address these issues, the same tired thinking. We really got to begin to think way outside the box, because there's nothing that inhibits our thinking other than us putting a ceiling on how we want to address our problems. I've always taken the approach that we have an entire field that we can play on. Why only play in one corner of the field when we have the entire field? We've got to bring ideas like that because it's a social equity issue. How we empower ourselves. How do we empower our community? How do we give people the tools in order to uplift themselves? Because this is not a handout strategy. This is an empowerment strategy that's aimed at creating more wealth and equity and opportunity in our own neighborhood, and then allows our dollars to circulate. And it's also an employment strategy. If you're telling me we got 80,000 parcels of land in the land bank and maybe 40,000 of those are single family housing, what would it take to redevelop all 40,000 houses? How many carpenters would we need for a project like that? How many plumbers would we need for a project like that? How many people that we would need to do siding? How many people would we need to do concrete and pouring and masonry? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs in the city now, by all estimates, has 50% unemployment. And if in fact we've got to begin to put people in positions and jobs, provide them with the training necessary to uplift and improve their skill set, which provides them with the opportunity to buy some of these homes, which provides them with the opportunity to stabilize their housing situation. You know, homelessness is a major issue in the city of Detroit, family homelessness. All you have to do is work in a shelter, and you see families, you see children who are being displaced because of fires, because of bad housing situations. I mean, there was a situation recently where a mother was charged with murder and neglect because her daughter fell through a hole in the floor in a basement that was flooded with water. Bad housing situation as a result of a poverty situation where a mother had only an option that was a bad option for her and her children, and she ultimately lost her daughter. And so when we talk about improving the lot of life of people in our community, we're talking about helping to take care of and protect the children in our community by having good, solid home ownership, homes that people should live in, homes that have the things necessary for people to survive, such as heat and water, good roofing, good windows, things that we can use to help empower our community, provide employment opportunities for our young men and women who are out there looking for opportunities or looking for hope. It's a hope and aspiration strategy because we Detroit, see, we deserve better. And I'm going to continue to talk about that because if you don't believe we deserve better, I believe we deserve better. And hopefully over the course of this program and the weeks to come, I can excite you about the need and the desire and the ability and really the courage to accept the challenge that we need to accept in order to move forward. And so I'm going to take a break right now. We got to pay some bills and allow you to perhaps maybe call in and ask me some questions about my approach to economic development strategy, how we can empower ourselves from a homeownership perspective and move ourselves forward in the city to do great things. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is LaWanda.
This is RJ Watkins.
Coming to you to bring you some information about the #1 detox in the nation, Lemon Burn. Lemon Burn helps to turn the fat into fit. It's for you, a happier, healthier you, because you know healthy is the new beautiful. An all-natural way to improve your health. It promotes a healthy digestive system, attacks and reduces belly fat, as well as gives you energy. Need to get yours today. Call 313-868-6612.
Don't forget to exercise and eat right.
All media platforms are engaged.
Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
We Detroit, we deserve better show. I'm happy to be here. I'm also open to taking calls. You'll be able to see the number on the bottom of your screen. If you can't see it or if you're listening to us, the call-in number is 313-365-7327. The other number that you can call is 313-365-7379. So it's 7327 or 7379. I'm open to take any calls that you may want to have to talk with me about today's topic, which is how do we create equity through home ownership in our community. You know, when we took our station break, you know, I was talking about the notion of how a city could create its own bank. You know, we have a number of states, for example, I believe North Dakota actually has the Bank of North Dakota, which is a state bank, which is chartered to lend to people in the state of North Dakota. And what they're able to do through this bank, they're taking their deposit from their state, they put a portion of the deposit into the bank, which allows them to create interest earnings off of their own deposits, because they're creating interest earnings now by having money in other banks. The only thing they're losing is sort of a fee that the bank charges in order to manage that process. And so by keeping more money and equity in the community, the bank is able to lend at a much more robust rate because they aren't governed by the same level of restrictions that you would have in a traditional banking relationship. And so I believe that is one approach that we really should explore, is if we're looking for ways to think outside the box, then we've got to look at ways of how other people are doing things differently. Because the issue of home ownership, the issue of equity, social equity and inclusion, I think is a very big issue and should be. Although I'm always troubled by the fact that we talk about social equity and inclusion in a city that's 80% Black, but I guess maybe we need a different term. Maybe the issue is equity empowerment. Maybe that's the phrase we want to use. Because to the extent that we empower ourselves, that we use our money wisely, that we're able to take advantage of and use the existing laws to lend to people in our community, then it creates a much better opportunity for ourselves to move forward, and it creates an opportunity for us to live the American dream. You see, there's nothing wrong with living the American dream, to owning a home, to building up equity, because we're in a situation and we're in a system where that in fact is the way you should go. You should own your own property. And if in fact you can own property with others, then maybe you should do that as well, because the tax structure is built on essentially owning property and then using that property to offset other income you might have based on depreciation and other rules within the tax code that allow you to do these things. But we got to begin to move forward to aggressively attack the issue of home ownership. What is it taking in order to do that? Are people even interested in owning their homes? Again, I go back to my initial theory, which is I believe in the goodness of man, that people want to do good for themselves. If in fact that is my approach, then we've got to make the tools available for people to move forward and to do what they need to do. But of course, it recognizes that there are issues that we do need to address on a global scale, because the simple fact of the matter is that there are a lot of restrictions and inhibitions which keep us from moving forward. But the key is to recognize what those issues are and to devise a plan of attack that allows us to address those issues and to move our community forward. We're not powerless. We don't simply have to accept what we're getting. We deserve more. We have to ask for more, and then we have to do more. We have to be better within ourselves, which means our business class has to be much more invested in the success of our community. We have a number of people in our town that have made a very good living. And I don't count people's money, but they have great businesses and they do certain things, but maybe they need to be doing a little more in their own community. When I talk about that dollar recirculating over and over and over again in our own community, it starts with us using Black real estate professionals. It starts with us using Black attorneys. It starts with us using Black appraisers. It starts with us using a Black loan officer. It's a self-empowerment strategy, because to the extent we do business with one another, then we strengthen our own community and provide access and opportunities for others to grow. The one great thing I like about the organization Greater Detroit Realtors Association is, in fact, they have a core group of professionals who are experienced in understanding what it takes to create home ownership, what it takes to actually buy property. They work with a number of private investors who go out into the community. And if we have relationship building, then there might be a situation where your credit might be a little bruised. There's a house that you like. I might be able to find you a Black investor who will buy the house for you, rent the house for you on an option to buy it, allow you to perhaps correct your credit, build up enough equity so they're able to flip that house to you in a home ownership situation. There was nothing wrong with that, because it's about how we use our social equity and compact to work with one another. If you are in a home and you're looking to actually own that home, but you have issues associated with your past credit, things of that nature, then there are organizations that are out there that can connect you with who you need to be connected to if in fact you want to buy that house. And we need to be more aggressive in that. We need to promote that, because that allows us to strengthen our community. When you talk about strengthening the community, when you're talking about building a tax base in the city, when you're talking about providing people with the means to stabilize themselves, stabilize their family, well, then home ownership becomes a very important part of that puzzle. And there are ways that we can address those issues, because it allows us to go from a renter position to a homeowner position. And the homeowner position puts you in that equity position. And the equity position puts you in the ability to use that equity to do the things that you may want to do. For example, you may have equity in your home and you may want to start your own business. That's a great use of equity in your home, because it allows you to do things that you need to do in order to move yourself forward. You're using the benefit of your home ownership and the equity in your home to allow you to go out and start your own business, so that you will begin to circulate community dollars within our community, that you will do. We have a call. Let's take our first call of the day.
Yes. Has your idea been tried in another major city? I will hang up and listen to your answer.
It has not been tried in any major city yet. It's been done in the state of North Dakota, but you have Andrew Yang, who's a candidate for mayor in the city of New York, who's actually talked about it. and you have other mayors across the country that are actually talking about the concept. What I would like to see is the city of Detroit be the first to take advantage of that concept, because it's in line with how we readjust equity in our own community. If the city of Detroit has more than $30 billion in assets in various banks across the country, that would probably make the city of Detroit maybe the 13th or 14th largest bank in America. And why are we allowing our equity to be used by other people, and we can't get folks to get mortgages in the city of Detroit? And so it's something that really needs to be examined and studied, because to the extent that we can use that as leverage to get banks to lend more, then maybe we should do that, because leverage is one of the most important concepts that we have. You know, we had a bank one time, Comerica Bank, which was headquartered initially in the city of Detroit. In undercover darkness one night, decided they were going to move their headquarters to Houston, Texas, I believe it was. And so when the city found out about it, the city was very upset, obviously, for losing a headquarters business. But then the city discovered that they had billions of dollars of assets in Comerica Bank. And so with the flip of a switch and a phone call, the city transferred more than $800 million of banking assets to First Independence Bank, to money managed for the city. Well, the people in Comerica got very upset about it, but the reality was that, so what? It was the city's money to do what they choose to do. And so what I'm saying and suggesting is that we've got to begin to change how we think. We've got to put new concepts out there. We've got to be much more creative. Because if we can create a vehicle that will allow us to flip people from renters to homeowners, that will provide us with the opportunity to create business opportunities for young people who have skilled trades to do plumbing and carpentry and cement work and masonry. If we can do that, then we can begin to rebuild our community. We can begin to rebuild our community in a manner that empowers the people who live here. And so that's what I'm suggesting, is that it's a different concept, but it's a forward-thinking concept in line with how you move forward and use your assets in a manner that's going to be productive for yourself. Because that is the main thing. It's all about self-empowerment. It's all about how we use our dollars. It's about how we spend our money together. It's about how we recirculate money within our own community so that we strengthen ourselves, so that we use our resources within our own community. You know, there was a time when we didn't have to be told who to use. We did. And integration, to some extent, kind of hurt us, because we began to use other things and we got away from our core business, which is how do our dollars recirculate within our own community. And so what I'm suggesting with the concept of the Bank of Detroit, which actually was the original name for Comerica Bank, I believe, that we begin to take our assets and our resources and we use that as leverage so that the banks have to play ball. You know, there was a recent announcement by a very large bank that's now undergoing a merger. We said they were going to lend $1 billion in the city of Detroit. But yet they make these great pronouncements, but then we never see the dollars flowing in the community. And so all I'm saying is that if we've got money, we can use that money for ourselves. We can use that money for our own equity, and we can use that money as leverage to force local banks to provide the types of services that we need. You know, there are a lot of areas in the city of Detroit that you can drive through that what I call banking desert. That what people end up doing is they have to go to a check cashing store, which charges high fees and interest, which is almost a form of extortion and really community exploitation, because people with few resources don't need to be paying extra fees in order to bank. And so what I'm suggesting with the Bank of Detroit model is that we can begin to dramatically reduce the number of fees that people charge, so we can actually get people in a banking system. Because there's still, you know, hundreds, thousands of people in the city of Detroit that actually don't have a relationship with a bank. And so when it came time to get the economic stimulus checks, if you haven't filed your taxes, if you don't have a banking relationship, then it makes it much difficult for you to get those dollars in your pocket to spend to keep yourself stabilized. And so it's all I'm suggesting is that it's for us to move forward to do great things. All right, so we're going to take a small break, and we'll be back. This is Anthony Adams. We Detroit, we deserve better.
Now you can watch WHPR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Catch all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk shows. Call, text, tweet, post. WHPR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHPR TV 33, a Watkins Broadcasting Company.
If you or someone you know is facing eviction and has a notice to quit or a court order summons, complaint, or judgment, there is help to avoid eviction. Call the Detroit Eviction Helpline at 866-313-2520 or visit DetroitEvictionHelp.com. The City of Detroit with the State of Michigan have eviction prevention programs to assist Detroit residents with financial assistance and legal representation. Again, Detroiters can call 866-313-2520 or visit www.DetroitEvictionHelp.com. That's 866-313-2520 or go online to DetroitEvictionHelp.com. Again, Detroiters can call 866-313-2520 or visit www.DetroitEvictionHelp.com. 866-313-2520. Get help today.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only. You can have your own party on TV. Party with RJ Watkins and the TV33 family when you hold your own Facebook watch party. Connect all your friends with our friends, and we can have a watch party together. Watch your favorite TV shows when you want, how you want, with your favorite people. Here's how it works. Log on to Facebook from your computer or tablet and go to the RJ Watkins fan page at facebook.com/TV33WHPR, the one with the blue WHPR logo on the left. Like us. Click the word videos with the red tag that says live next to it. Then click the share button at the bottom of the video player and select start a watch party. Invite whoever you want. Your party will be recorded and archived for playback anytime you want. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. At the end of the month, the viewer that has the most people at their watch party will be invited on the TV show live. Come on, let's have a party. Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only. Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at tv33whpr.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only. You can have your own party on TV. Party with R.J. Watkins and the TV33 family when you hold your own Facebook watch party. Connect all your friends with our friends, and we can have a watch party together. Watch your favorite TV shows when you want, how you want, with your favorite people. Here's how it works. Log on to Facebook from your computer or tablet and go to the R.J. Watkins fan page at facebook.com/TV33WHPR, the one with the blue WHPR logo on the left. Like us. Click the word videos with the red tag that says live next to it. Then click the share button at the bottom of the video player and select start a watch party. Invite whoever you want. Your party will be recorded and archived for playback anytime you want. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. At the end of the month, the viewer that has the most people at their watch party will be invited on the TV show live. Come on, let's have a party.
The We Detroit, We Deserve Better show. And I certainly want to thank you for tuning in today to really understand, the power and value of home ownership and equity in our community. If we don't understand what's important about how we grow our community, then we need to understand that home ownership and equity is the key to our future. That to the extent more people in our community actually own their homes, they have a vested stake in moving forward. They're creating equity for themselves that would allow them to use that money to maybe start their business, to use that money to finance an education, to use that money for however they choose, to pass it on to their children. It's the key to success in America is home ownership. And the key to success in Detroit is to take ourselves out of a situation where 45% of the people actually rent rather than own their home, and flipping that script so that we can create and get back to an 80 to 85% home ownership model. When we had people owning homes at that level, we had a much stabler city, we had a much stable tax base, and people had equity, they had skin in the game. As people are so likely to use that phrase. Skin in the game is what you need. It keeps you moving forward and it provides you with the tools necessary to move forward. So over the coming weeks, we'll be talking more about equity and home ownership. We'll also be talking about what I call the equity inclusion policy, which means the equity needs to be ours and not someone else's. We need to take advantage of those things. We need to take advantage of every tool that we have in our kit to move ourselves and our community forward. And so over the next following weeks, I will talk more about how we can do that, how we can accomplish great things, because this is really all about what you believe you can accomplish. If you don't believe things are possible, they will never happen. But if you believe in the big picture, if you believe in the big vision, if you believe in the big goals of empowerment, then this is the show that you want to tune in, because I'm going to give you food for thought and how you go about and live your daily lives. And so I bid you farewell. It's been a great show, and I look forward to talking with you in the coming weeks. This is Anthony Adams. We Detroit, we deserve better. Thank you for joining.